Welcome, friends. Let's begin at the beginning with 3 deep breaths. So take a deep breath in, hold at the top, exhale completely, and pause at the bottom. We'll do 3 more together. This last breath, you exhale and enter fully into present moment awareness, opening up to receive. Chapter 1, Know Yourself. Deep within the heart of each human being is the longing for happiness. Now, what is happiness? If you ask different people, you will receive different answers. The spiritually immature, after thinking about it for some time, will say, perhaps that if they had this or that fulfillment, or a worry eliminated, they would be happy. In other words, happiness means for them that certain wishes are gratified. Yet even if these wishes came true, these people would not be happy. They would still feel a certain deep-seated unrest. Why? Because happiness does not depend on outer circumstances or other people, no matter how convinced the spiritually immature person is of this fallacy. Spiritually mature people know this. They know that they themselves are solely responsible for their happiness or unhappiness. They know that they are capable of creating a happy life, first within themselves, but then also, inevitably, in their outer life. The spiritually immature think that happiness has to be created first on the outer level, because outer circumstances, which are not necessarily brought about by them, have to fit their wishes. And when this is achieved, happiness will follow. The spiritually mature know that it is exactly the other way around. Many people do not want to acknowledge this. It is easier to blame fate, the injustice of destiny and higher powers, or circumstances brought about by other people, than it is to be self-responsible. It is easier to feel like a victim. That way, one does not have to search, sometimes very deeply, and with a maximum of honesty within oneself. And yet, the great truth is, happiness lies in our own hands. It is in your power to find happiness. You may ask, what must I do? But let us see first what happiness means in the spiritually mature sense. It means simply God. Many people, in all sincerity, endeavor to find God. However, if they were asked exactly what they meant by it, how they imagined it to take place, it would be difficult for them to give a meaningful answer. Yet, of course, there is such a thing as finding God. In truth, this is a very concrete process. There is nothing hazy, unrealistic, or illusory about it. Finding God really means finding the real self. If you find yourself to some degree, you are in comparative harmony. You perceive and understand the laws of the universe. You are capable of relating and loving and experiencing joy. You are truly self-responsible. You have the integrity and courage to be yourself, even at the expense of giving up approval. All of that signifies your having found God. By whatever name this process may be designated, it might also be called coming home from self-alienation. Finding God is the only way happiness can be found. And it can be found right here, right now. How? You may then ask. My friends, so often people imagine God is immeasurably distant in the universe and impossible to reach. This is far from the truth. The whole universe is within each person. Therefore, God is within each person. Each living creature has a part of God within. The only way to reach the divine part within is on the steep and narrow path of self-development. The goal is perfection. The basis of this is to know yourself. To know yourself is indeed difficult, for knowing oneself means to face many an unflattering trait. It means a long, continuous, never-ending search. What am I? What do my reactions, not only my deeds and thoughts, really mean? Are my actions supported by my feelings? Or do I have motives behind these actions that do not correspond to what I like to believe about myself, or what I like other people to believe? Have I been honest with myself so far? What are my mistakes? Although some of you may know your weaknesses, most people ignore a good part of them. And this presents a great hurdle, even for those who have reached a certain height on this upward path. You cannot overcome what you do not know. Each fault is nothing more or less than a chain that binds you. By the shedding of each imperfection, you break a chain and thus become freer and nearer to happiness. Happiness is meant for each individual, but it is impossible to attain without eliminating the causes of your unhappiness, which are your faults, as well as any trend that breaks a spiritual law. You can find out how advanced you are on this path by viewing your life and your problems. How happy are you? What is lacking in your life? To the extent that unhappiness or discontent exists in your life, you have not fulfilled your potential. For those who really fulfill themselves, there will be a deep and peaceful contentment, security, and a sense of fulfillment. If these are lacking, you are not completely on the right path, or you have not reached the liberation you are bound to experience after the initial difficulties on this path are overcome. Only you will know the answer where you stand. No one else can or need answer this question for you. If you are on the right path, however, and you have that deep feeling of contentment and fulfillment, yet there are still outer problems in your life, that should not discourage you, for the outer form of the inner conflict you may be working on right now cannot be dissolved so quickly. The more you direct the inner soul currents into the right channels, the more the respective outside forms will change gradually but surely. I'm going to read that sentence again. The more you direct the inner soul currents into the right channels, the more the respective outside forms will change gradually but surely. Until this process is completely effected, the outer problem cannot automatically dissolve. Impatience will only be a hindrance. If you are on the right path, you will live and feel the great reality of God's world in your daily life. It will become just as real, if not more so, than your human surroundings. It will no longer be a theory, mere intellectual knowledge. You will live in this world and feel its effect on you. I will retire now and say to each one of you, none of you should ever feel alone. The love of God is with all of you. Be in peace. Follow this path. It will bring you happiness.